In today's session, we're going to be doing a few things. We're going to learn how to use H5P's multi-poll to gather quick feedback from students. We're also going to be learning how to use H5P's The Chase to gamify tutorials and foster engagement. It's a really great tool, very similar to Kahoot if anyone's used that before. We're also going to be going through how to use Zoom polling and the whiteboard to make tutorials more interactive. So Nathan, my colleague, will be covering that session. Wonderful. So we're going to get started now. I've just popped the link in the chat to exactly what you're going to see. So most workshops you go to don't ask you to play a game, but today you are most certainly going to be asked to play a game. I'll just leave it on the screen for a moment so that you can get the address. You can also click on the link in the chat. Well, you want to jump to this URL, uq.h5p.com. This is a URL which students will go to in your tutorials to enter in the game code, which we'll be providing to you shortly. I'll just let everyone get to the web page. And it's as easy as that. So the reason we love showing you these tools is that they're so easy for students to access. All they're doing is literally entering a code into a web page, joining and completing the activity. So now that we've left that on the screen long enough, remember the link is still in the chat. I just wanted to provide you all with the game code. Now the game code is generated each time and it is unique for each individual game. So the game code you can see on my screen here is 8638771. And I'm also going to, oh yeah, thank you very much, Nathan. You're on top of it. It's in the chat for you to enter in. Once you enter in that game code, you're going to be able to join our multi-poll, which is themed on UQ brushed turkeys. It provides you with a range of example questions, including an emoji cloud, a word cloud, and also just a generic kind of polling question where they can choose a particular answer. What email should you use to get in? So with this one, it should just be clicking on the URL and then entering the game code, and you should be able to get in straight away. Let me know if you have any troubles in the chat though. As you join, we should actually see on my screen, which I'll make full screen for you now, your number there.
We accidentally gave them the link to the H5P rather than go.h5p.
Oh, sorry, yeah, we put the wrong link in the chat for you. No wonder you're so confused.
Sorry.
Sorry, that's
One
my
sec.
bad. We'll go put it again. Go.h5p.
There we go.
There you go. Now you're going to have a little bit more luck. And now you won't make the same mistake in your tutorials. Beautiful. I can see you're all joining now. In the top right-hand corner of my screen, you'll see a number out of 1, which will be essentially the amount of people that have finished. So out of 2, which then means there's 2 of you, now there's 4 of you, and so on. So it gives you a really good idea of what percentage of your tutorial have actually joined and will be participating. So if you've got a tutorial of 30 students and only 10 are in there, you'll be able to know how many are yet to join before you continue on. What you're seeing on my screen is essentially it's kind of like tracking essentially where students are. You can see how many active users are on each individual page. So what I've done in particular here is actually set out questions on different pages so that I can track how they're progressing. You can have multiple questions to a page, so that's just kind of how I've done it to help with tracking purposes. And then I'll be able to see as well how many of you guys have finished. Another good way to track, if you didn't want to look in the top right-hand corner, is on my screen. You can also see how many people are active, so actively completing, and then how many have finished. So you'll see them jump from the right to the left as they continue on. It's a good idea, especially if you're in a face-to-face tutorial, to share what you're seeing on my screen on, say, the projector, so the students can be on their device, whether that be a mobile phone, whether it be a laptop, a tablet, completing what you're doing by going to go.h5p.com, while also viewing how everyone's going. And all the tracking. Great, we have 1 person finished. You've jumped from our active side. Thank you for participating. And hopefully it gives you a bit of an idea of what type of questions that you can formulate. I can see today that everyone's from really different areas. And so all of your questions will be different. As we go through, I encourage you to start thinking, oh, maybe I could ask a question about this particular topic, or these are also really good for icebreakers. So for example, how are you feeling in today's tutorial? How are you feeling about the upcoming assessment, especially using the emoji cloud? If you're doing a topic, you can use the word cloud in the way that you're trying to get students to start thinking about something with keywords popping up. Remember, with word clouds, the more a answer is submitted, the larger it becomes. So if you're hoping in particular for one particular idea to stand out, that's a good way to do it. And the polling question is so versatile because you can put in as many answers as you like to kind of gauge students on a particular topic. Really great for a knowledge check as well. Okay, so we've got 4 active and 3 finished. I'll give you guys a little bit longer. I can see we've had another person join as well. So we've now got 8. That's brilliant. Feel free to work your way through the pages. I'll also mention that there are a range of additional emojis available, more so than what you can see. I've just chosen a very small percentage for our little example today. Beautiful. So we've got 3 finished and 5 active. All right. Just in the interest of time, I'll just give you guys another 30 seconds and then I will just close that one. So the other cool thing you can do, you have a range of game options available in the bottom right-hand corner. So I can lock the game, which means that if I've said, you've got 30 seconds left or a minute left or however long that may be, after that point in time, I can lock the game, which essentially means that no one else can continue to answer, because it is quite disorientating for students when you've got everything moving around, especially you'll see in the chase as well. So I'm going to now lock the game. Thank you for participating. So that should mean that no one else is able to join and answer. The other thing I can do is show results. So first thing I'll do is show you what it looks like on my screen. You'll notice at the very top of my screen there, I have 2 buttons. One of them looks like a stop clock, and the other one is essentially like some squares with lines. The squares with the lines is the summary tab. The summary tab by default is only available to me as the presenter, which is a good thing in a lot of ways, because then after, the whole point of this is to gauge students' reaction to a particular question. And then we want to go through the results, right? So the first question was, how do you feel when you see a brush turkey destroying UQ Gardens? So 1 angry, 1 laughing, 1 nervous, 1 sad, and 1 hypnotized. No one was shocked because it happens all the time. There's another way to display the results to this question. You'll see there's another tab here. If I click on that, it'll actually show it in a word cloud sort of fashion. So because everyone answered different ones, they're all the same size. But if one person put in 2 of the laughing faces, they would appear larger. So you'll see it appears in a nice little scrolling fashion. The other one was, what word would you use to describe brush turkeys? Interesting, industrious, wildlife, rude, and crazy, all excellent words. Again, you can obviously display that in the word cloud fashion and say 2 people put crazy would see that much larger. And the last one here is my question of how many brush turkeys have you spotted on campus? I've never seen one. I'm not surprised no one said that. Majority was 1 to 5. 1 person 6 to 10 and 1 person 10 plus. So that's a good lot of fun. Thank you for participating. The other thing I wanted to show you is in the game options down the bottom right-hand corner, there's also an option for me to show this for you as the student in the situation. So when I select show results, you'll now notice on your screens that you also have the summary tab. So if you click on that summary tab, you'll see the same thing that I see, which is really, really useful, because it means then students can be following along on their device, especially if they're maybe at the back of the room, it might be a bit easier for them to see. And also if they're just interested in the results. You don't have to make them available. If you prefer to grab all your students' attention back to the front, it's a good way to do that by kind of holding the results back and then revealing them together. So that is essentially our multi-poll as a quick little demo for you. I'll just jump back to our PowerPoint and I'll just explain a few of the question types that are available. The one that I didn't show you today was a mark image hotspots question. What that means is essentially you can mark a particular point on an image. It wasn't included in our example, but I just wanted to let you know that that is available. You can also include non-markable question types. So for example, text, an image, a video, or an image hotspot. The way this is really particularly usefully done is you'll notice that I put each question on a different page. You could have an initial page, for example, that kind of introduced the topic or whatever you are asking students about. And on that page, you could include any of these non-markable question types. It can also be used to break up particular sections and used as many times as you like. So I'm going to show you how quick and easy it is to create a multi-poll. Now, unfortunately, with this particular tool, I can't let you demo it because you have to have a H5P account. I will show you how to grab one of those. They are free and available to you all, so no worries, but I'll just do a quick demo to show you how easy it is. All right, so I'm on my H5P homepage, which you now know the address of by accidentally giving it to you instead of the Go. So you'll notice it's uq.h5p.com. So once you've got a license, you're able to log in with your UQ account and you can click on the Add Content button. H5P doesn't just have these active types of content. It also has a range of different things such as quiz questions. It's got interactive videos, course presentations, endless amounts of content. And that's all available to you as well once you get a license. Today's session is just focused on the active tools. So what I'm going to look for first is multi-poll, and you'll see at the search bar there, once I enter in multi-poll appears at the very top there. And all I've got to do is select that particular question type. Thank you for popping all the info there in the chat, Nathan, about requesting a license. It's super easy and quick. So here's my blank multi-poll. First thing I need to do is enter in a title. Now, I would highly recommend that you enter in your course code first and potentially even the semester, and potentially even the year. The reason we recommend doing that is because you'll see, especially my account, I have so many H5P content types that have been created. When you put in the course code, semester, and the year, it makes it much easier for you to search for them, as well as create multiple versions as you go. So maybe you'll be wanting to duplicate this one for a following semester and change the content. That way you're not going to get confused which is which. So let's just say my course code, semester 2, 2023, and I'm going to put multi-poll. You could also call it the topic or whatever you'd like. This is what I meant about the pages. So on my first page here, it's automatically created, and all I need to do is select the content I want to appear. So for example, maybe on my first page, I want some text. It could be something along the lines of welcome to A, B, C, D, 1, 2, 3, 4. And then something in the text for whatever you'd like, pretty much. So it does have the background here, automatically is blue, just is like, it's just the design of it all, but you can actually change the theme as well. So the text might be welcome to the course. We're talking about blah, 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 blah. Then to structure it better so you can kind of have students progressively continue as I did, I would actually click on the Add Page button before you add your first multi-poll question. It allows you to track them better, as you saw on my screen, but also it makes it a bit more like a quiz and it's more staggered so students can go to the next page. Otherwise, they might also be scrolling. Okay, so let's start by creating a word cloud question, for example. So from content, I'm going to select word cloud. The title here, I might just put icebreaker, word cloud, and the question might be something as simple as, how are you feeling today? Okay, oh, sorry, not word cloud, I meant emoji cloud. Actually, let's try that again, because that's the easiest one for me to demo quickly. So let's try that again. So how are you feeling today? It's a bit of a fun one. I mean, all the students will know very well all the emojis. And like I mentioned, you have a lot of them available to you. So you can select the ones that you want students to choose from on how they're feeling. And you can only have a maximum of 6 as well. You can then add in additional questions. So you can add in like the polling question. That's just a really easy, quick example. And if I click on save, it's literally that quick and easy. If you wanted a quick, how are you feeling today? It takes like 30 seconds to create. You also have this great little side-by-side preview button in the top right-hand corner that allows you as the creator to preview what the students are going to see. So remember on our first page, I had a little welcome. That was welcome to the course. Moving to the next page along, I then could select how I'm feeling and then submit my answers. It's a good reminder to tell your students to click on the submit button because it is well hidden usually down the bottom. And when the answers are submitted, we're all done. That is a very, very quick example on how to create a multi-poll. There is a bunch of different question types. We don't have time to go through in today in detail, but that's just a quick run through for you. If you have any questions as we go through, feel free to pop them in the chat. I'm going to move along now to the star of the show, which is the chase. Now, similar to the one we just demoed for you, we're going to be going to a web page and entering in a game code to join our chase game. Now, for those who have played Kahoot before, it's very, very similar. While there isn't an app, students can still join on their mobile device, tablet, whatever it may be, similar to multi-poll. And all they're doing is they're answering a range of questions. It's a much larger range of questions than the one we just went to. So ignore here because we've got that wrong. It's go.h5p. I'm going to just pop that in the chat for you now. I'm just going to refresh my live game. Game code, again, we want go.h5p. Thank you, Nathan. You are so speedy. I really appreciate it. There we go. So I need you to go to go.h5p.com and enter in that game code for me. We are going to play a quick game of the chase together. While you all do that and begin to join, you should appear on my screen here as players. I just wanted to go through some of the settings. So as the person running the game, you can change the game duration. It can either be unlimited, so they have an unlimited amount of time to join, or you can make it limited. The reason I would recommend putting a limitation of the time is simply because it appears in the student's screen. So they kind of have that constant reminder that they need to be progressing to the next question. And 10 minutes for the one that you'll be doing today will be plenty of time. I can see that 3 of you have joined already. Please continue to join and we'll play another game. Also, I would click on full screen mode. I've already entered into full screen mode, but if you didn't and you were back in the other view that I was just in, when you click on start game, it'll make it full screen for you. The other reason this is handy, the way it's designed, is all you're doing is literally clicking on the chase that you've created, and you've already got the address for students to go to and the game code on the screen. It's really quick and easy for students to join, as well as for you to monitor them, similar to multi-poll. So we've got 5 players in. Awesome. I'll give you guys another 30 seconds to join. If you don't join in time, you still have the link in the game code, so you should still be able to join even if I start it in a moment. So we've got 6 people already. Brilliant. All right, now this chase is UQ themed again, but it's a range of questions that are related to the university. Hopefully you'll know the answer to some of them. If you don't, hopefully you'll be pleasantly surprised at the answers at the end. I've tried to include as many different question types as possible for you, so you can kind of gauge the different range of questions that are available in this, as opposed to something simple like multi-poll. All right, let's start this game. Similar to before with multi-poll, you'll see that I have a leaderboard of sorts, but this time I can actually see your name and your avatar that you entered when you joined the chase. That's the main defining feature here, I suppose. So multi-poll is very quick. It's de-identified with the way that we're currently doing it. So we're getting them to go to a URL and enter in a game code. We can't identify students through that method. However, I will talk to you at the end about how you can identify students if you embed through Blackboard. All the data will come in that way. Students will then be able to choose a little picture and their avatar and work their way through the chase. The other thing I'll show you about my screen, feel free to continue on throughout the questions as I start chatting. You have a few more options here as the instructor. So just like multi-poll in the top right-hand corner, you can see how many people are live in your game. You'll also notice that if you joined later or perhaps didn't have a chance to get in before I press start game, you've got the go.h5p.com URL at the top, as well as the game code to join. So any stragglers that walk in late or maybe just needed an extra second to get in can still join. The other thing I'll point out is at the moment, I'm only showing the top 10 people. You're likely going to have quite a large tutorial group. You can actually make it smaller, so maybe even just the top 3, or as large as the top 15. 10 seems to be a reasonable amount. 5 fits entirely on your screen almost. So there are some decisions to be made there that you can control live in the game. The other thing you can do is monitor students by their score, aka who's winning, or by question. So this will give you an idea how far through the chase they are, but the score's a bit more competitive. It kind of makes it a bit more of a game where students are going, oh, I want to move forward. The other thing you may have noticed if you've played Kahoot before, and the only main limitation of the chase at the moment is there's no way for me as the instructor to control when you as a student continue on to the next question. It's self-led. I can control when the game starts and the game ends, but you as a student work through at your own pace. We have been told by H5P that functionality is coming. So you will in the future as an instructor be able to control when students move to the next question. However, we don't have a really sturdy timeline on when that's happening yet. So just to be aware that functionality should be coming. Hopefully sometime this year if we're lucky. All right, so seeing the questions, I've got 2 people who are at the very end and the majority of you guys are kind of halfway through. This might be a good time for me to swap to the top 15 so I can see everyone and how they're progressing. In this chase, I've included both markable and non-markable question types. So you can kind of get a better idea of what I was trying to explain with multi-poll in being able to break up the questions into different segments or topics. A really great use case of this is using it at the end of a particular topic you've taught as a knowledge check tool, or we've seen it really, really successfully used as a revision tool before end of semester exams. And in our follow-up email, I will include a brilliant case study by a wonderful tutor who I worked with on using it for exactly that use case, and in particular, how she delivered it in her tutorial, which will be useful to you guys. Great, so pretty much all at the end. I'll give you guys another second and then we will continue on. You've got a nice little handy how many of you have finished in the top right-hand corner if you didn't want to kind of scroll down and see how everyone's going. Now, my timer is still running. Now, that doesn't mean you have to wait until the timer finishes before ending the chase. You do actually have control, as with multi-poll, as to when it finishes. So in the top right-hand corner as an instructor, when I click on my 3 dots there, I can see that I can end the game. This one's a bit different. So you can lock the game, which prevents participants from answering. But we're really with the chase, you probably really want to end the game because then the leaderboard will pop up. Locking the game won't trigger that. So we're almost there. I can see a few people moving towards the end. I'll give you guys another 30 seconds and then we'll do that. The other thing you might have noticed is I have, similar to multi-poll, at the top of my screen, the summary, and it's a similar thing. So once we end the game, I'll be able to show the summary on your screens. Okay, hopefully that was enough time for you to kind of get your way through the chase to get an idea of how it works. I'm going to go ahead and end the game now. We've got half of you guys finished. That's great. I'm going to click on end the game and it's going, do you want to end the game? I'm going to confirm that I do. And the leaderboard pops up. So in first place, we had Red. In second, Riyadh, and third, Lester. Well done. And you've got great little icons to represent you all. The rest of you guys below also appear on the leaderboard. So thank you so much for playing. I'm amazed at your UQ knowledge. That's pretty decent. 10 points. Nice. It's kind of essentially really a tie here in the situation. So let's just say you're all number 1. Okay, so I'm going to click on the summary tab now, just to kind of show you what that looks like. But now that you know what it does, I'm going to click on show summary for you. So you can also click on that tab and work your way through. Some things to note about this. Unfortunately, it isn't a particular reflection on what you submitted. It's actually just a general overview. So it's saying that this answer was correct. 1909 was when the uni was established, and 4 people with that answer, 2, 1, 1, and so on. So it doesn't actually tell you in particular which one you entered. However, there are ways that you can get students to track how they went, and you can track students too. It also tells you the average score. So as I scroll down, you'll see for each of the different question types, it'll show you which ones were correct and incorrect. So this is a great way to kind of go through content with students just before an exam or at the end of a particular topic. The other cool thing is if you go through this with students and you find that the answers abysmal or maybe need a bit more work, you can restart the game and students can play it again. This is a really great way for them to test their knowledge after you kind of explained it through a few additional concepts. So that's a really cool way to do it. You can also export the results as a CSV file. So with the Chase, you have a much larger range of question types available, as you can see here. And I've pretty much used all of them for you as an example in the Chase, just so you can kind of see what's available. I'm just going to show you again how quick and easy it is to create one. So this time again, I'm going to go back into H5P and I'm going to click on Add Content. This time I'm going to search for the Chase and select that particular content type. Again, we highly, highly recommend putting in the year and the semester and the course code, and I'm going to put in the Chase. If you are running multiple Chases, for example, in week 1, week 2, week 3, and so on, I definitely recommend putting that in the title. Task description by default will be the Chase, but you could change that to the particular topic. So for example, UQ trivia. With the page, I'm going to do a very simple multiple choice question as an example. So I'm going to click on multiple choice as the question type. I'm going to put in year of establishment. And the question was, what year was UQ established? The answers were 1909, and this is the correct answer, so I'm going to check that checkbox. The other options were 1919, and that one is not correct, so I'm not going to check the box. And I'm going to add 2 additional options by clicking on that Add Option button, 1929 and 1898. You can also add additional tips and feedback, as well as feedback based on which answer, well, where they kind of sit and where their answers were correct. There are behavioral settings for each individual question. I'm going to randomize the answers by default. Usually all of the default settings for these questions are spot on, so you don't have to worry too much about changing the settings. I could add another page and then an additional question and so on, but literally it's as easy as that. Click on Save, and I can again click on my side-by-side preview to test. For those who are watching this recording and didn't get to see what it was like at the beginning for students, you can choose an avatar. So this can be me. And I put in my nickname. Remember, students can enter whatever they want, but if you link it rather than do the method we're doing today, you can identify them. And once the presenter has started the game, which I'm doing on the left side, I can enter in the question and I can see how it went. Now, obviously, because I only had one question and there's no one else participating, there is no game data in the preview. Rightio, so that is the Chase. The only other thing I did want to mention was some settings that we recommend. So I'll just jump back in there and go down to the major settings. At the moment, we've done some testing, and these are the only settings we do recommend you select. The first one for the Chase is behavioral settings. Under behavioral settings at the very bottom, allow navigating freely back and forth. Do recommend turning this on. The reason being is if you don't, instead of those lovely arrows that go left and right, you just have a submit button at the bottom of every page, which isn't particularly intuitive for students because it's kind of implying they're submitting prematurely, like they actually do have more questions to complete. That's selected by default, so just leave that on. The other thing we do recommend doing is clicking the show check buttons and then override solution button being disabled. So what this means is when a student completes a question, you'll notice that there was that blue check button at the end. When they click that button, they can see whether they were correct or incorrect. The summary tab that we looked at before, as I mentioned, is only a general summary. And that general summary is of everyone's answers. It doesn't tell them whether they got it correct or incorrect. So the only way at the moment for them to know live in the game is by clicking on that check button. So it's very important that we do turn that on. Overriding show solution button pretty much means we don't want a show solution button to appear, because we're going to go through the solutions at the very end together. It kind of allows you to do that. You can, however, enable that if you'd like to. That one is personal preference. So I've shown you the side-by-side preview. It's a great way to test it because it is a live tool. You really do need to make sure that everything's going to work and the questions are appearing correctly, most importantly, before you run it live. And you can start requesting your license right now. As Nathan kindly put in earlier before, we have a guide on how to request a license. You essentially email our support team on how to, and they will process the request essentially on how to get a H5P license. You log in and you can start creating like that. Remember, it is free and it is UQ supported. I'm just going to mention one more quick thing before I pass over to my wonderful colleague, Nathan. And the other quick thing I wanted to mention was, how do you actually get these in your Blackboard courses? Probably most of you guys will be using it for the purpose of just ease of use. So you want to give them the URL, you want them to enter in a game code, and you don't care about identifying who is who. You just want it to be easy for them to join. The other way you can do it, and you do need to enable this in the settings, by the way. So down the bottom where you have publish, it does need to have at least protected content can be inserted into the LMS. By default, it will be unpublished. So just be aware. Again, we will send you some guides on all these settings. The other thing that I did for today's session is I made it public. So by doing that, it means that that game code appears. If I just make it protected, there's no game code option. It has to be embedded in the LMS. So if you kind of want all of the possible options, just make it public. And then whenever you click on the link to run it live, you will be able to either embed it or have that game code option. With this one, I'm just going to make it public as a particular example, and I'll show you how you can embed it in the LMS. So as you're a tutor, it is always best to check with your course coordinator whether they would like you to do this, but you can actually embed and link the content in Blackboard. So maybe you want to embed it in a weekly folder, for example. So if you click on build content and then you go down to H5P, then what it's going to do is it's going to go, okay, you're logged into Blackboard with this account, and I can see that you have a H5P account with that same email address, and you'll see that all of my H5P content is available to insert, which is great. So you can see this is the one I just created 24 seconds ago. I'm just going to click on the insert button. And literally, quick as that, I've got my chase in there. All students need to do is click on the link. And they will essentially be able to access the content. Now, because I'm the instructor, the person who created this, I'm in instructor view, but as they're a student, when they click on it, they'll go automatically into student view. The benefit of doing it this way is that you can identify through reporting, so the reports tab at the top there, who answered which questions. And I mean down to, remember I did my little test. It's not a particularly good example because I don't have much content in there, but I can see exactly what I answered versus which one is correct, as well as my start, end time, how long I spent on it, and my total score. You can see that for every individual student that clicks on that link. The other benefit is students also have a report for themselves, so they can actually go back after and go, how did I go on that chase? Which questions do I need to look over again? So this is a brand new feature that's come out in the last month. Students now have their own reports button, and they can go through as many attempts as they have. So say I do this chase again, I would actually have another attempt there and can go back through all my previous attempts. I wanted just to kind of give you guys a bit of a heads up because that's really useful functionality. But if you do have any other questions about H5P, feel free to pop them in the chat. And I'm going to pass over to my wonderful colleague, Nathan.
Thank you, Illyria. Okay. All right, so I'm going to give you a quick overview now of Zoom polling for online sessions, and hopefully we'll also get a bit of time to have a quick look at the whiteboard functionality in Zoom as well. So if you are doing online teaching this semester and you are going to want to use some active learning tools, I do have some tips for you in regards to how to prepare engaging activities for your Zoom sessions. Few tips include that with any online teaching, you do really have to think about the plan and structure of your lesson. Generally, when you're teaching online, it is going to take longer to deliver content to your students. So having a plan and structure to your lesson is really going to assist you with running your online session and making sure that you've included the activities you want to have with your students will really allow you the time to use those and engage with the students. Providing clear instructions to the students on how to participate in the activities is really important for online tutorials and everything. You also need to provide some guidance about how to use Zoom as well for responding to the activities. On our website, we do have a PowerPoint template that is designed for use in Zoom online teaching. And the PowerPoint template contains the instructional slides for various activities that can be conducted via Zoom. So if you've never seen that, we'll send out a link to that PowerPoint template because it can be really useful for your online teaching. You do need to allow sufficient time for the activities to take place. As I said, with the plan and structure of your lesson, delivering content online does take longer than, or generally takes longer than face-to-face. And because you can't see the other people, as most of the time students don't tend to turn their webcams on, it's really hard to gauge whether students are actually focused on what you're telling them. So it can, with the activities, take a bit of extra time for them to complete. It's also really important to respond and provide feedback that acknowledges the students' involvement in active learning. So if the students are participating in a activity, make sure that you are providing feedback and responding to them so that the students know that you're actually paying attention to what they're doing. It generally will encourage students to participate more when you run activities if you're engaging with them. So the first activity I'm going to show you via Zoom is the advanced polls and quizzes. Zoom did updates to their polling functionality, which allows you to create advanced polls and quizzes with a range of different question types. So the original polling tool in Zoom only included single choice and multiple choice questions. But with the advanced polls and quizzes, you can add a range of other different questioning types to your polling within your Zoom meetings. The only difference between an advanced poll and a quiz is that in a quiz, you can actually select the answers for your poll. So you can then release those answers to the students after the poll is being conducted. This is one of our instructional slides, which gives students a bit of a guidance on how to respond to a poll. So before you start a poll, generally we encourage you to instruct the students on how to respond to the poll. It is reasonably easy to respond to a poll in Zoom, but providing instructions to the students is a good way to ensure you do get participation. So when you are in a meeting, if you are sharing your screen with students, you'll have a meeting bar, and on that meeting bar, you'll see a little polls button. So the polls button, as a instructor or host in a meeting, will bring up a polls section. So with your polls, you do either need to set them up before your meeting starts, or you can set them up during the meeting while it's taking place. So I've already set up some polls in our meeting today. You can see here that I have 3 different polls in my meeting. At the start of the meeting, I was running a teaching mode poll to see who was teaching online and face-to-face. So I can move between these polls just by clicking on the poll and then selecting to launch the poll. So with my polls today, I have some questions that are related to traffic rules. So to assist with this, I've actually created a slide that has the question, and it also has a stimulus image associated with it. In our polling tool, it does have the ability to add images directly into the polling tool in Zoom. However, the images appear really small in the poll. So if you are asking questions related to an image, my advice is to just put them onto a slide, and then you can go and launch your poll. So I'm just going to launch the poll now. So you'll have a poll pop up on your screen, and that poll is related to this image that I have on my PowerPoint slide. So the poll asks you to rank in which order the vehicles at this intersection, which order do they proceed through that intersection. One of the great benefits about Zoom polling as an instructor is it will tell you on the screen how many participants are in your meeting, and it will also give you information on how many people have responded. It will also give you a timer there of how long you have been running your current poll for. So it's a really good thing to monitor when you're running a poll. Generally, from experience, when you are running polls in a meeting, if you're getting about a 50% return rate, that is pretty good. So anything over 50% is what you're looking for. So basically, you run a poll for a certain period of time that allows you to achieve a percentage that you're happy with for participation. Basically, when you're going through, you tend to see that initially the speed at which the participants, the number of participants that have completed it, will jump up quite rapidly, and then it will start to slow down dramatically in your return rate. So when the number of people finishing the poll starts to slow right down, that's generally a good indication that you've probably reached the amount of people that will respond. And then you can go through and you can end your poll, and then you can discuss the answers to the question. So with this rank order question here, I can see I do have to mouse over to see what order people have selected. So they're represented by different colors on the bars here. So I'm just going to end that poll there. Now with this poll, I can choose to share my results with my participants. There is a little 3 dots here as well, which allows you to relaunch the poll. So you can ask this question and then relaunch the poll to the students as well. So I'm going to share my results here to everyone. So you can see what the results were of the poll. I also have this checkbox. I have set this question up as a quiz, so I do have the correct answers here. So I can then also select to share the correct answers with all my participants. So just in terms of what the correct answer is for this one, so the answer is, the first car that can go through the intersection is the black vehicle there. They don't have any stop sign or give way, so they can proceed through the intersection. The next vehicle is the yellow bus, as they're proceeding in a straight line, and they also don't have a vehicle on their right-hand side after this black vehicle goes through the intersection. It then proceeds to the green car, and then finally the blue car can proceed after the green car. I've just got one more poll there to show you just a different type of poll one. So in order to get back to my list of polls, on my little poll screen here, I have a back button that will take me back, and I can then go and select my next poll, and I can then launch that. One sec, let me just stop sharing that one and launch this one. So with your polls, you can include more than one question per poll. The one thing to keep an eye on when you are running a poll, if you do have more than one question, is by default, it does show all the questions in one go. There is an option that you can select that will show just one question at a time. But generally, I find it easier to create individual polls with my questions, and then I just start each poll as I'm asking the question throughout my session. That does tend to be a little bit easier than just having all your questions in the one poll. So you can see here, no one's answered yet. So this one's probably a little bit harder in terms of what the order the participants in the picture move through the intersection. So I'll just give you another minute there just to see if we can get some answers in. So we've got 2 people that have responded so far. So jumped up to 4 people now. Just another 10 seconds and I'm going to end the poll. So I'll just end my poll there and I can share my results again with everybody. And I've got my correct answers shown to everyone. I've actually got the wrong answers put into my answer sheet there. It said my answer says that the blue car is first, but it's actually the cyclist that can go first. After the cyclist goes, the pedestrian can then move through the intersection. Then the blue car can go through, and the final car to go through is the red car. So with your polling, after you've run polling in a meeting and your meeting is finished, you can actually access the results from your meeting, from the polls that you conduct in your meeting. So you do just go to the uqz.zoom.us website. Inside of the website, there is a reporting section. You go down and you find the meeting that you've run, and then you can actually run a report that will give you the details of all the responses to the poll questions that you had in your meeting. So if you wanted to keep a record of who participated in your polling, you can download that and it will bring through those details from your meeting. In order to create a poll in your meeting, there's a couple of different ways that you can create polls in your meeting. One way is you can actually open up the poll section within the meeting, and you'll see a little plus sign at the top here. If you click on that plus sign, that will then open up and allow you to create your polls within your meeting directly. Generally, my suggestion is that you use the advanced polls and quizzing option rather than the original polls. You click on the next button, and then it brings up and it will create a poll for you. So the first thing you can do is at the top is you can create a name for your poll. So if you are doing your tutorial or something, and you do want to run a number of different polls throughout your tutorial, my advice is to make sure you give the poll a name so that it's easy for you to choose it from your list of polls. So this one just might be capital city. And then my question is going to be, is the capital of Queensland? So with your question, you put your question in, there's a little button here that will give you the option to choose what question types there are. So as I said, there's a range of different question types there. You can select which one you want, and then you can put in your answer options. So I'll throw in some answers here. And you select which one is the correct answer if you want. If I just turn this into oh, hang on, let me just go down here. make quiz, there's a little more button. Make the quiz with an answer, and then you can set your answer for the question. It'll allow you to select what the answer is. Then you hit that save button, and it will save your quiz straight away into your meeting. And then you can run that quiz or poll straight away. So it does allow you to create it instantly on the spot. The other option you have is to go directly to the UQ z.zoom webpage, and you can go in and find your meetings. So you can find a meeting that you've got, you can click on it, and then there's a poll and quizzes section, and you can schedule your polls when you set up your meetings directly. Are there any questions there about the Zoom polling? No. The other option that you have for activities within Zoom is to use the whiteboard functionality in Zoom. So with Zoom, they have recently created an improved whiteboard functionality. So in your meeting, down on your meeting screen, I'm just going to find my chat for a second. And participants, in your meeting, you'll see there is an option called whiteboards. If you click on that whiteboards button, it will open up the whiteboard feature. With the whiteboard feature, you can select to create a new whiteboard. There's also a range of different templates when you create your whiteboard that you can use. You can choose to either allow collaboration or just make it a board for presenting. You can also allow participants to continue to have access to the whiteboard after the session. When you click on the create button, it will go through and it will create a whiteboard for everybody to then access and work on. So there's a range of different things, tools that are available on the whiteboard. You can go through, it'll tell you who's got access to the whiteboard, and the what else you can do. You can create additional pages on the whiteboard as well. So this allows for a functionality for everybody to participate at the same time. So I can see in here that there is someone else on the board there. I can go through, I can add content, and this will all update live for your participants. With your whiteboards, there's also a range of templates. So there are some templates that the vendor has. So if you're wanting to do brainstorming with your students, there are a range of different brainstorming templates that you can use. So these can then be a starting point for your students to then participate in the session. There's also like icebreakers available as well. If you wanted to do a where are you from, you can select the template, and I can go and then click on use this template, and it will insert the template onto my background there. And I can resize that out so that it's bigger on the screen there. If you wanted to, and you wanted to share your room out with extra people, so you can invite extra people that weren't necessarily in the meeting as well. So if you wanted to share it with the course coordinator because your students did some good work, you could then type in the details of your course coordinator and give them access to it as well. After you're finished your session, what you can do is, if you don't want the students to be able to edit it anymore, you can change their access from an editor to a viewer. So that way they can only view it after the session rather than being able to add additional content to the whiteboard. After the session with your whiteboards, they do become available in the Zoom website. So if you go into your Zoom website and log in, there is a section called Whiteboards, and you'll be able to see the list of whiteboards that you have created. and you can go in and access those after the session as well and share them out again and change settings for the whiteboard. Any questions there about the whiteboard? No. Let me just share my screen again, and I'll just bring my PowerPoint up. So just to finalize off, we've got 1 minute to go. The e-learning systems and support team have a range of services available for staff with regards to support. If you do have any technical problems, you can contact the e-learning help desk. Please be aware that with Zoom, the e-learning team only provides support for the teaching side of using Zoom. If you do have actually any technical problems with Zoom, Zoom is controlled by ITS at the uni, so you can log a job to them. We also run workshops throughout the year. There's also custom workshops available if you do need to, if you think these are useful for other people within your schools. We have advisor consultations available where you can book a consultation with one of us to assist you in a one-on-one environment. And we also have a range of guides available on our e-learning website as well. There's also some teaching and learning services available if you do need help with progressing your teaching. We'll send out that information as well where you can get that assistance. So on behalf of Leary and myself, I do thank you today for coming to the session. We hope you got something out of it. We know it's a really rushed session and we did cover quite a bit of content, but we will send out the recording for you as well. But please let us know if you do have anything else that you would like assistance with.